Hello and welcome to the second round of the Formula Sim Racing Academy Championship here for the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola. And I'm your commentator Cameron Rodger, and today I'm joined with Nico Hillebrand.
Hello there, Cameron. Thanks for introducing me there once again. I'm glad to be back on the commentary team. Round 2 of the Academy Championship this year. And we're here in beautiful, sunny Imola. Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, of course, very well known already, as a temple of speed. Maybe even more so than Monza. It's an almost 5-kilometer long track, and we're gonna have 38 laps here today. And I think we're gonna have some quite entertaining racing here today.
Yeah, we've got two DRS zones, as you can see, down the back straight and then down this really long front straight. Although it's not really a straight, it's got about 4 corners in it. So that will be quite an interesting feature. And there will obviously be DRS to the start-finish line, which is all the way down down sort of near the end of the track. But the car they will be using today is the 2020 FSR car. We got 976 horsepower, 370 kph of top speed, although we won't quite be getting that here. 743 kilos and two race and quali boosts, which they'll be using to get some extra speed in this qualifying session that the drivers have just now got into.
Yes, and it will be quite interesting. As you said, these cars can go quite fast. We won't quite be reaching the top speeds that the gears give us today, but still, through qualifying and through practice sessions around the week and a bit before that, I've seen people do over 330 kilometers an hour going into the Tamburello chicane. So that's going to be quite interesting. Of course, the front straight is insanely long, so a lot of overtaking to be done there, even though the DRS zone only starts at about after a third of the straight is already done, or like more like a half. So I think we can have some close racing here today.
And the drivers now out on their qualifying. They got 10 minutes and only 9 laps. So basically 3 hot laps, because you have to include your in and out laps as well. So drivers will have to be wary of that so that they don't go over their limit, because if they do, then they will get a disqualification from the session and they will be starting from the back of the grid. And some news from the round 1 was that the 3 drillers cars of Grankvist, Hemmingsen and Lappins all got promoted to the Pro Championship, which means Stoyan Barbakov is effectively our championship leader, as he finished 4th last time out. So let's see where he can put himself. He goes up to 2nd place, or just 3rd, as someone has just pipped him.
And yeah, there's quite a lot of good times already here. 112s, and this track isn't quite as grippy as some of the practice servers after hours of running that you have. And it's already quite a little bit of a spread in time here, but it's quite completely open setup. And in these cars, going at the speeds that these cars do, getting the perfect setup is very, very important.
We do have a couple of new cars and new teams here today, which is pretty cool. We've got the Seawolf Net Race Motorsport. We've got Ibrahim Khan, who shouldn't really be cutting the chicanes like that, but got him and a couple of his teammates as well in here. So Seawolf are a team to look out for at this moment in time. And because this is a private qualifying session, all the drivers will be sort of on their own on the track. They won't be seeing any other cars. So we have to do our best to keep up with all the cars, as they could be on basically the same part of the track at this same time.
Of course, you can't keep all the action, all the fast laps at once there, but I think the drivers do appreciate that they have, a guaranteed clean lap. Otherwise, it's always a bit of the excuse game. I would have gone pole, but of course I had traffic in my lap, so, But, yeah, despite that, it's already, quite a good spread here. The top 15 are all within 1 second. And, then the gap is growing a little bit. And a couple people haven't gotten laps in yet as well. So, yeah, I think we've got quite some people to lug out for here. And especially now that the 3 drillers cars are up in Academy, I think we can maybe have a bit more of a bigger fight for the leads than just those 3 who kind of built a gap from the start last time.
Yeah, that's the whole reason for the licensing system that we got in FSR. Really, is that to make sure drivers are in the correct division for their skill set, and obviously those drivers were just a bit too quick, so it was decided to move them to the Pro Championship. So we'll have to see what they can do later on after this race. We'll be moving to the pro race later on today. And someone who's actually on purple sectors at the moment is Danny Robbins, but just as I click on board with him, he's actually gone for a little spin. But he was purple sectors, and he is now one of the remaining Drillers cars. And so does Stoyan Barbakov, another person who is improving on his time there as well. So we will now look to another one of the Seawolf cars. We got Jilzinski, who also goes off the final corner. What is everyone doing? All
Commentator
off.
skirts there.
They're literally all going off at that exact same corner. So that's obviously one tricky corner for these drivers. So I jump on board with Martin Antol, 19th place at the moment for ground effect as he comes to finish the line, and he improves to 17th place. So mostly drivers now finishing their second laps.
Well, even if it's maybe a small improvement, every car you can start at the start, you're gonna, of course, want to have behind you. But yeah, there was a bit of strangeness there. First car spinning, then the second car spinning at the exact same place, and Kilczynski just almost doing the same thing. Oh, sorry, Bob. What is it back? No, Kilczynski. Sorry, the last guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kilczynski just taking a bit of the gravel there. Of course, you have to carry so much speed through those last two corners, and you know, especially when you have the DRS open and then quali boost, you're pretty much right on the rev limiter of 7th gear, maybe 8th gear if you get a very good launch out of the chicane. And yeah, getting the braking right for that is not always guaranteed. And in practice, I myself have gone off there plenty of times already, locking up a tire maybe. And well, it's you know, 1,000 horsepower cars. These things are incredibly fast, even in the corners.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that location is for the overtaking in the race, because there's sort of like a kink to the right on the straight, and then it's a really difficult braking zone because it's quite tight, but it's sort of it's quite open. It's tight and open at the same time. So if you're on the inside, it's going to be really difficult to make an overtake move because you can take so much speed into it. But we'll have to see really how that goes in the race. This is obviously the first time we've been at Imola since 2014, so quite a few years. We have done a couple of races here in things like the Winter Series and stuff like that over the years, but in terms of an actual Formula Sim Racing season race, this is the first time since 2014, and the first time we've been here with these new, faster, modern open wheel cars.
I'm quite interested to see, actually. Of course, you already go through that kink there, through that right-hand kink that you just talked about. You go through that with DRS open, and in the race, I think that could get quite interesting, especially when you're behind someone. So you have the slipstream, you have the DRS, and then just as the kink sets in, it also goes downhill. So there's a bit of a weight shift there. And I think if the downforce is just a little bit off for a situation like that, or the tires have worn a bit more, I think we could actually see a couple risky moments there if people are going a bit too optimistic into this.
Yeah, I'm now on board with Thomas Garcia, who comes through this corner just as we say. And it's about third or fourth gear for some of these drivers. So it's taking quite a bit of speed, and you've got to get it out of the final corner all the way down the straight, open up the DRS through the kink, and it's a really long run to the line. So I really think we're going to see some overtaking there, possibly towards the end of the race. And at the moment, we've got Jackson Vent on pole position ahead of Stoyan Barbakov. And Barbakov is actually done, but Jackson Went has one more lap left to go, which is this lap that he is on right now. So we will stay on board with him and see what he can do.
And very tight line there. Heartbreaking for just a very short moment. Down 1 or 2 gears, depending on what the preference is for the drivers. And so late on the brake for Acqua Minerale. Going on the outside curb there, and those curves here in Imola, they are really, really tricky. I compared them to basically like the saw blade before, because you know it really drags you in and can cause a lot of damage to your car. Or well, not just car, but lap time and also your tires if you just do it a bit wrong. They really provoke you because they upset the car quite a bit. And now out of the last corner, goes onto the straight. He's going a bit wide. I've seen people take that a bit tighter there before. And he doesn't improve, sadly. But nevertheless, pole position for now. But of course, there's still people who can challenge him, even though the time is already up.
I tell you what, though, that Ghost Speed car looks really good over the bumps and over the curbs, so they must have set that up. And that is one thing about this track. All of the corners are basically these chicanes, and they all have these massive yellow anti-cuts. So if you can set up your dampers so you can get all the way over those curbs, you'll be able to shorten the corners and take a bit more speed in some areas as well. So Ghost Speed might be one to look out for. They didn't have the best round one, it has to be said, just in general through all of the categories. But we will have to see if they can do a bit better. Jackson Wentz got pole position a few times last season as well, but never got a race win. We now got Jasinski going up to 4th place, and his teammate Kato coming down in 7th place. This is not a bad debut for the Seawolf team. 4th and 7th position at the moment, and Ibrahim Khan also in the top 10. But he stays in 7th place, and I believe that is all of the drivers finished their lap. So Jackson Went is on pole for the San Marino Grand Prix, followed by Barbakov, Zalogiannis, Jozinski, and Adam Rainey for the top 5.
Of course, we also have to look at a bit in the standings here. Of course, it's only round 2, but since this is a bit of a shorter season compared to the last couple of years, of course, there's less rounds to gain points, and of course if you have a really, really bad round, you can lose a lot more points in relative to the championship. If your main rival, he really scores well, gets maybe a couple positions more, and then he should get, in your opinion, and you just have that bad luck of DNFing, maybe your engine blows up or you have a very unfortunate crash, you can lose so much more points simply because there's so many less rounds this time.
Yeah,
so,
that really makes each race more valuable, really. Having less races, you need to make every point count and every opportunity you can. And unfortunately, Jackson is one who didn't do that last year. I believe he got pole position in France and in China, and both occasions, I don't think he actually scored points. So hopefully it goes a bit better for him this time round. But just while these drivers are doing a warm-up, we will take a quick break, and then we will be back to run you through the grid as I think there are a couple of penalties to be had, but we will confirm that when we get back with you in a couple of moments' time.
This is Formula Sim Racing. My name is Mitchie Hoyer, and welcome guys to today's edition of Track Walk for round 2 here at San Marino. We are at Imola, being the host for the FSR 2020 season round 2, and we are sitting in pit road here at the Autodrome Enzo Edino Ferrari di Imola. We're firing up the engine and coming out of the shadow of the pit garage to enter the sun, enter the pit road. And the first thing that comes to our eye is that pit road is extremely long, which means it will be a very important and key factor in the strategy to be used by the drivers for the upcoming race. Anyway, we're leaving this long pit road, which will be definitely a decider, and coming into turn 1 and 2, first chicane. The circuit has been rebuilt over the past years, making it a lot safer to hopefully not have any further crashes like we had with Ayrton Senna in this turn 3 we just went through in 1992. Then turn 4 and 5, the second chicane of the circuit, also built to make the circuit safer. And then we are already done with first sector. Into turn 6, a late apex hairpin where it's fairly important to go onto throttle early. Coming up the hill towards turn 7, left-hander, mid-speed corner. Car wants to understeer a little bit as the exit falls off to the outside, and we're going over the hill, entering turn 9 and 10, called Acqua Minerali. Very technical part of the circuit, surely the most technical, difficult part of the circuit. Short sprint up to turn 11-12, that is called Variante Alta, before entering the back straight, second DRS zone, and longer sprint down towards Rivazza, turn 13 and 14. I think the second best overtaking opportunity here on the circuit. And then we're coming around for turn 14, second part of Rivazza to speed up for our flying lap here around Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari di Imola. DRS wide open over the start finish line towards turn 1, hard braking zone, best overtaking spot on the circuit. Turn 2 and turn 3 easily flat out if you got the car balance right, if the weight transfer is fair with you. Turn 4, you coast into that, heavy braking for turn 5. Don't want to go too far to the outside over the rattling curve. Into turn 6, wait for the late apex and then smash the throttle. Once again, not too wide over the rattling exit curve as it may slow you down since the chassis bottoms out. Into turn 7 we go, flying over the rattling hill. Into turn 9 and 10, flat through 9, heavy braking into 10. Very important, hit both those apexes and have a good traction on the steep hill. Short sprint to turn 11, 12 Variante Alta. Don't want to come too wide over the exit as I just did it. Also, car wants to oversteer there a little bit since the exit is bumpy. DRS on the back straight into Rivazza, second best overtaking opportunity as we already spoke about. And final turn, so important. You take all that exit speed, all that speed onto the long pit straight. DRS wide open and then we wait for the line and across the line to finish one flying lap here around Imola. So you guys are encouraged to tune in Sunday 28th March 1400, 1630 and 1900 GMT when drivers of ACA, Pro and World Championship fight for the win in their series classes.
And welcome back to round 2 of the Formula Sim Racing Academy Championship here for the San Marino Grand Prix. 38 laps here today for these drivers in the third tier of Formula Sim Racing. And once again, I'm your commentator Cameron Rodger, joined by Nico Hillebrand.
Hello everyone, welcome back. And we're just finishing warm-up here, about to go into the race with the formation lap first. And I think that is the perfect opportunity to go through the grid as well.
Yes, we'll go through the grid once the session has moved. Grid is just being finalized now, and something to note is that it's 38 laps, which means strategy is going to be possibly a little bit easier for some of these drivers, because from what I've been hearing anyway, is that the soft tyres can go potentially even about 20 something laps into this Grand Prix, which means it's probably going to be a soft medium strategy. But that does mean if anyone does the alternate strategy starting on those medium compound tyres, then they're going to be really fast at the end of the race, because they're going to be able to push these tyres to the absolute limits here in San Marino. But the grid is just coming on now, so the drivers will be gridding themselves up. And as we mentioned before, Jackson Went is on pole position for the San Marino Grand Prix, but he has not taken a victory yet, despite having a couple of pole positions to his name.
And of course, like in the first round, he very unfortunately DNF'd, so the P2 setter, Stoyan Babukov, he's going to be really looking forward to this, because right now he's really looking for a nice championship lead. He finished in 4th place last time, and the top 3 got of course promoted to Pro Series. Then in 3rd place we have George Zalogiannis, who was also quite close to the times before. And at this point, very quickly before we go through the rest of the grid, top 24 of this 30 driver field within 1 second. So that is already quite close together. And of course, like when you go through the entire schematics of 1 second is a world in motorsport, but still, like if you consider that I think it stretches about 2 seconds in real F1. And of course, these guys all have the same setup, but from team to team, the setup engineers all, differ what kind of stuff they do with the car. And yeah, back to the grid. Benjamin Gilzinski with his little off-track escapade that we caught on stream. Still a very good lap time, put him to 4th place. Then we have Adam Rainey in 5th, Thomas Garcia in 6th place, Jan Katau in 7th. On 8th place is João Gabriel. In 9th place we have Danny Robbins. In 10th, Ibrahim Khan. In 11th we've got Danik Kaloksai. In 12th we have Michael Teichmann. In 13th we have Matthew Klipp. In 14th you have Matthew Tucson. He really would want to be a bit further up the grid, as he finished in 5th place last round, or in 6th place, or just still quite far up in the order. And this position is not doing him any favors right now for his championship aspirations. Then in 15th we've got Danov Brandholm. In 16th Dmitry Zaharov, Krzysiek Luzak and Patrick Ruzinak in the 9th row. In the 10th row we've got Petra Palasek and Martin Antol. Then we've got Hermann Stocci, Claudio Cunha, Thomas Andriami Harisoa.
Yes.
Really sorry, struggling there. Then Max Hoss in 24th, Calvin Reinert in 25th, and 26th Dan McAuley, who missed the formation lap, so he's starting from the pit lane. Then Ranier Jr. in 27th, Elysia Nunes in 28th, Linus Lundvall in 29th, and Nicolas Vichbicki, who's also starting from pole position, and that's already a smoking engine from Dan McAuley, so not really what he would want in this situation.
Yeah, potentially he left the garage too early, so his engine is going to be smoking. But we do have 30 drivers here in Imola. It looks like someone else is starting from the pit lane. One of the Allied cars just coming out. So we are waiting for the lights now to come on here in Imola, and then we'll be underway for the second race of the Academy Championship. And there we go. And it looks like Barbakov actually got a really good launch there from second place. We'll have to see if he can get alongside, but he couldn't quite get there in the end. Oh, he's going to dive down the inside, but can Jackson hold on? Yes, he can.
Oh, there's someone off. There's someone off. That's João Gabriel. His engine was smoking at the start, and then he got hit off to the side, lost his front wing in the outside wall. A very unfortunate start for him. Really not what he wanted. As they now finish Sector 1, and all is still quite close together here.
Oh, there's another car off in the background there. That's one of the Royal Blue cars, I believe it is, off in the background. Need to see who that is.
That's Krzysiek Luchak.
That's unfortunate.
That's a front wheel gone. That's a DNF, sadly.
That is a shame for them, because obviously the race is only just starting. Already a couple of DNFs. Verbicki and Macaulay are both out of the race as well. The ones who started from pit lane. Unsure as to why, but something has obviously happened. Oh, Ibrahim Khan is round, and I believe that's Zaharov as well. Got both front wheels. Oh, it's actually Brandholm is out with no front wheels, so he will not.
And Michael
be
Teichmann, just a spinner here through the kink, and that was a bit of an unfortunate situation. There was a bit lag there.
So I'm going to try and get a couple of replays, although we'll just see if anyone is going to be making an overtake. Kato's just got overtaken actually by Adam Rainey, who's up to 4th place. Now he's got Danny Robbins, the highest drillers driver, just behind him. I'm going to see if I can get a couple of replays of what happened at the start, because quite a lot happened there in the opening lap of this race. So let's jump on board with João Gabriel.
And we have 4 people in the pits right now, just repairing damage, and that's... Oh, George Zalogianis has left the pit lane again, but I don't know if this is a bug, but it doesn't seem like his pit crew has repaired his damage. And we had issues with the pit lane starters as well. Pit lane jumped a bit between red and green there, and both of them got DQ'd by the game, and then unDQ'd by our marshals. And yeah. Nicolas Viesbicki is now on the track.
I'm just going for a couple of the replays here. It seems that there was 3 Allied cars who actually made contact on the first lap. João Gabriel went on the grass and couldn't brake. And then it was actually Thomas Garcia who came back on the track and hit the Royal Blue car off as well. So quite a lot happened there in the opening lap. But they are now on to lap number 3. Jackson Wentz still leading the way from Stoyan Barbakov.
And right behind him, Gierczynski as well, and not too far behind there as well is Adam Rainey. And then we've got a little bit of a gap, so the chaos of the first 2 laps is a bit noticeable here. But still, we have Gierczynski and Babukov quite close behind Wendt, and lap 3, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's DRS time.
It is.
And all of them are quite close together, so we're gonna see some insane overspeed here. DRS open for Babukov and Gierczynski on 2 and 3. And look at the speed.
Yeah, wow, the the straight there is probably a bit too short. It's probably this straight that they're really going to be looking to get the overtakes done. Although the DRS opens quite late, it's just about here where that motorbike chicane is. But then I have to see if Babkov can get close enough. He's going to have to go round the outside of turn number 2, which is going to be a really good move. That is Jackson goes around. Jackson has got around, and he's going to lose quite a bit of time here getting back on. He's managed to get himself onto the tarmac escape road, which is very good because that's got a lot more grip than the gravel. But he's dropped down to 7th place ahead of Matthew Toussaint. And Matthew Toussaint is actually doing pretty well at the moment. He started quite low down. Obviously, there was quite a few crashes. Matthew Klipp is the leader of the people on the alternate strategy on those mediums. But Matthew Toussaint there in effectively 2nd place of the alternate strategy could be good. But for Jackson Wendt, 7th place is not what he wanted. And once again, he doesn't have a perfect race starting from pole position.
Yeah, he really wasn't going to be expecting that move to work, I think. And then, you know, of course, very desperate to get the power down. And when you get behind the car, even when it's not completely, you know, like full speed, the downforce sets in quite early with these cars, and especially in the wings. And when you're missing that traction from the aero pressure, you know, sometimes you just lose the traction completely, and sadly that happened to Jackson Wendt. On the bright side, he kept it completely out of the wall. But now, Gierczynski on the inside of Babukov, almost on the grass, on the straight, and he just goes past. No doubts there. And Gierczynski's in the lead now.
Yeah, so it's Gierczynski's first race here this season, and potentially in FSR, because I don't remember him racing before. So we need to see what he's made of, and he's making a good start here. Babkov is now, as we said, effectively the championship leader with the 3 drillers drivers moving to pro. So he is our benchmark. So if Gierczynski can get ahead of him, then we certainly know there could be a championship fight between these two later on in the season. But let's jump down into the midfield, see what happens. And just as I click on him, Herman Stoicki, another Ghost Speed car, goes around. He's on those medium tyres. Is he going to get back going? Yes, I think he can, although he's going to have to wait for a couple of cars to go through. And he's now down to 18th place. So there's obviously some curse of when I click on people today, they all start crashing.
Well, Herman Stoicki luckily also seems to have gone out of that without too much damage. But now this group here, 6th to 9th place, all quite close together. Matthew Klipp, Jackson Wendt, Matthew Toussaint, and Martin Antol, all with DRS.
Oh, Jackson's hit back a clip. He looked there. He put his front wing in there, didn't quite have the overlap. And this actually could leave him open to Matthew Toussaint.
Yeah, he's definitely open now. Already the slipstream before the DRS is even started. Both of them have DRS now, but Toussaint just had that better run through the last 2 corners. I think Jackson Wendt really isn't happy how his race is going right now. He's, he's really under pressure after this mistake he made, and just trying to look down there and getting a really serious case of the Vettels.
Yeah, for some reason, when he gets pole position, he has bad races. This is something that is often not really talked about in sim racing. It's actually the mental side of the racing as well. Obviously, physically, there isn't always as much strain as you would in a real life car. But in terms of mental strain, you still have to be prepared to take on the nerves and all the doubts that are in your head that you can't do it, even when you possibly can. And unfortunately, Jackson has come against that again in this race here in Imola.
I think he's just a bit too nervous right now. If he really can just calm down again and get back into the groove, I think he can still do a lot of good stuff here today. But yeah, you said it, the mental strain in sim racing is actually, I would say, quite a lot harder than with the car. Not just from, self-doubts or something that you could have, but how do you say this best? You have to concentrate so much on the inputs from the wheel. You have to concentrate a lot more than just on, in a real car. I can tell this from experience because the G-forces and stuff in like faster corners, of course, and just, you know, the entire like the physical strain that you have on your body. It takes a bit, but it's not that bad. And then like in the sim racing seat that you have, and with your wheel, of course you only have from your steering wheel the actual input, or maybe if you're lucky and have a fancy brake, you've got like a vibration motor or something in the brakes as well that tells you that you're locking up before you're actually properly locking up and stuff. But to focus on these little inputs, it's you know, quite hard. And I say this again and again, and a lot of people actually just do agree with me here. You know, the mental strain in sim racing is just immensely more than just in the real car.
And also with sim racing, you only, as you said, unless you have some really top hardware, you don't have many reference points. You don't have the G-forces telling your body that, oh, the car's doing this. So you have to use your eyes a lot on your screen or in your VR headset to work out what the car's doing. Is it over rotating? Are you understeering? You got to listen to the sounds to listen if your wheel spinning, are the revs just rising really quickly and things like that. So there's quite a lot to focus on. And there's, even in this Academy Championship, which is the third tier, these drivers are still pushing hard. They're still trying to get good results and see where they can finish up after 38 laps.
Yes, and Matthew Tucson and Jackson Wynn still battling hard. And right behind that, I really do have to mention that, Max Haas in 10th place. If I do remember correctly, he qualified in 24th. He was the last guy within that 1 second gap. So he gained 14 places in these first few laps. Really impressive stuff from him, from the Allied Racing driver.
Yeah, he finished, I believe, 15th last time, got 1 point. The points go down to 15th place in the Academy and the Pro Championship, and he picked up that last one, which was pretty good for him because that meant he didn't have to go through the pre-qualification that we have earlier on today, because there is actually a Grid 2 race going on at the moment, because the grid is limited to 30 drivers. Top 15 in the championship get a bye, and then everyone else who signs up has to battle it out to get onto the grid. So it's always a good thing to get in the top 15 of the championship, and if Max can stay there, that could be good, because if he's qualifying in 24th, then maybe qualifying isn't his strongest point, so avoiding the pre-qualifying is always a good thing. And now back at the front, Barbakov has caught up to Gilzinski, and he just went off there a little bit. So he's pushing hard to try and get up the order, trying to get on the back of Gilzinski, but couldn't quite do it on that occasion.
And we also just had, you know, a bit of mixing up here, a bit of, how do you say this best? A bit of battling as well. Martin Antol is really keen on showing.
Jackson's
actually...
gone!
Oh!
He's blown his engine as well, so that's going to be DNF. Hopefully he can press escape as quickly as possible to get out of the way for others. And again,
I about to say
I
as soon as we mention it.
I literally just clicked on his name again and he crashed. I don't know what is going on today with that bad omen, but let's have a look.
We are sorry, Jackson.
Yeah, but let's have a look at what he did from an onboard camera. This is a really quick 6th gear corner, though. He goes down to 5th. Yeah, just got on the curb on the exit, straight into the wall.
It is these curbs, and
yeah.
Max Haas inhuman reactions there. Avoiding the car barely, very well done. But yeah, I was about to say how Martin Antol made a very, very, you know, optimistic move into turn 1 there, but had to pull out again because, you know, Jackson was very well defending it. But yeah, sadly that is over now. I'm really sorry, Jackson.
So, I do feel really, really bad for him, to be honest, because in France last year he got pole position. He did a really good start, and I believe it was actually, no, it wasn't Barbakov. I think it was someone else actually, but they were going side by side, and he had a massive lag spike, and he crashed into someone. It sent him all the way in the air, so it just gets no luck, does Jackson, when he starts on pole position. So unfortunately for Ghost Speed, that is going to be what this is actually uncanny. I just clicked on his teammate Herman Stoichi, who's also gone for a little spin in Tosa again. He spun here a few laps ago, and he's down to 19th place. But I need to stop changing the cameras.
We have to stop. Okay, we have to give Ghost Speed a bit of a break. Let's go to Kelvin Reinert in 11th place then.
Yes.
Because he actually came from quite far back in the field as well, up to 11th place. And that's also a quite very good showing for him. And, you know, I know him from bits and pieces from other Discord servers and stuff. You know, very sympathetic guy. And I think this is also one of his first races in FSR.
Oh, Matthew Tewson trying to go around the outside of turn 2. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, don't
I
worry.
didn't think he was going to go for that, but then he tried to go around the outside of Matthew Clip into turn 2. Couldn't quite make it work. Went over the gravel. Managed to save that pretty well, actually. But these two drivers of Clip and Tewson are really ones to look out for, in my opinion, because these guys are going to go probably 25 laps into this race, so they're going to be really quick at the end with only about a 13 lap stint on those soft compound tyres. So they are going to be challenging these guys further ahead of them, although they do have a bit of a gap ahead of Matthew Clip, and you can see on the track map that we've got, you can see there's a massive gap ahead of Matthew Clip down this back half of the track. And I think Petr Palazek has gone off. Yes, he has. He's lost his front wing. So Palazek and Rusinek have both moved from Allied to Drillers after just one race. But it's not the Drillers debut that they want, or at least that Petr wanted, because he is in 15th place with no front wing.
Yeah, definitely not the debut you're looking for. But yeah, as you said just now, I also have to point out those two are on the soft tires, and they are basically keeping up the pace with the they're actually on the medium tires, and they're actually on the they're keeping the pace of the soft tire runners. So it's really interesting, yeah, to see what those two guys are actually doing. The battle of the Matthews for 6th place.
Yes, it's good to see that these drivers are trying something different. Obviously, the rule for qualifying means the top 10 have to start on their qualifying compound. So they can get into the top 10 on, say, the mediums, but then they have to start on those. So obviously when you're outside, oh, another car crashed in the background. Who's that? Max Haas has gone around after being in such good position. Hopefully he can rejoin nicely, and I think he has. He's down to 12th position, but he's going to have some tyre wear from that. So let's grab a replay and see what he does. So he's coming around Tozer. Yeah, just loses the rear end. That's all it was. And then he got hit by someone else who was possibly Kalaksai, actually, that he hit.
Yeah.
But he is now in 12th position.
Very unfortunate situation for him. But he also kept his mind cool. He wanted to rejoin instantly, but he saw that people were coming. Very good reactions from him there, instead of, rolling back onto the racing line and crashing into some more cars. So he really did save it quite alright, I would say. Bit of a gap now, but the race is still quite long. 25 laps to go. Or 26 actually, because we just started lap number 13.
Yeah, I would expect some of these softer tyre runners to pit any time between now and lap 20, I would say. Because the one thing about the Academy Series is that not only is it a shorter distance, this is a 60% distance of what you'll see the World Championship guys do later on, but that also means that they have less fuel because they only need 38 laps of fuel, which means generally the tyre wear is a bit better. But that is not always a direct translation. We often see the lower categories actually having more wear because of driver skill and things like that as well. So we'll have to see how that works out and if they can get these soft tires towards 20 laps, but I would expect that they can. And it's pretty good that they can push the whole race on these tires and see where they can come out.
Will definitely be interesting to see. And we now have, through this debacle with Haas, we also have Kelvin Reinert up to 10th place. He was momentarily in 9th, but Patrick Rusinek went past him. And now we have Stoyan Babakov in pits, yes.
Yeah.
So that was already switched to medium tires.
And look at this. He's going to get out in this massive gap ahead of Rusinek in 9th place. So he's going to have an awesome undercut here on Jelinski. So Jelinski might have to come in this lap to protect from the undercut. So we'll have to see how this works out. But Babakov is going to be really quick on these fresh tyres.
Yeah, and he's also quite fortunate to have this big gap here, so he's not going to be held up at all. But yeah, you have a quite diverse skill field here. It's not just racing; it's also strategy, and also a good strategy is to check out some of the supporting sponsors of the series, 3D Rap and SimLab, because they make good sim racing equipment. SimLab, of course, very famous for their GT1 and P1 Evo rigs. And, 3D wrap, of course, for, some very nice steering wheels as well.
Yeah, and it's good they're offering some nice prizes for the World Championship. We have a whole cockpit for the Drivers' Champion of the World Championship, and then 3D Wrap are giving us 2 rims, one for the Teams Champion and one for the Drivers' Champion as well. Although someone has crashed. Who is this? I think it's Thomas Garcia. Where is he?
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
Thomas
a blown
Garcia.
engine.
So I gotta jump on a replay with Thomas to see what has happened. So he is coming up to the corner, same corner that Jackson went was at, just a few laps. Oh, it
Just
was
the engine
literally just
blew.
his engine. Ah, okay. I was expecting a crash. That is interesting that he's blown his engine not even halfway into the race, but he was obviously running too little radiator or something like that. And Jasinski now is still out. Does he come in? No, he does not. So he is going to go really long, which means he's going to have a lot fresher tyres towards the end of the race. Although it has to be said that Barbkov did have not the best tyre wear in Malaysia
We
compared
have
to
one
some other
in.
drivers.
That's Jan Katau in 3rd place. Changes to medium tires. And we'll have to see where he comes out, because Barbakov is just coming out of the last corner now, but of course this is a very long pit lane.
And the speed at which you take the start-finish straight is quite high as well, so
Yep.
that often doesn't help with the time lost. And he has come out behind one of the drillers, so that is Danny Robbins.
I think he was also in the pits already.
Yes, he has. So Robbins is doing a pretty decent job here, considering he's lost his teammates that were ahead of him, of Hemmingsen, Grankvist, and Lappins. He's leading the way there for drillers. And he's doing a pretty decent job there in 7th place at the moment.
And of course there's still people who have to pit. David Kaloksha in 2nd place also still has to pit, if I'm correct. He's on the soft tires as well. And after that we already have our 2 soft runners. The 2 Matthews who are already quite close back together, actually. And right behind that, Martin Antol, still with his soft tires. And I don't remember if I now call the medium tires soft tires again. I'm really sorry, because it used to be, red super soft, yellow soft, and then white for medium and all that. That's of course been changed now, and yeah.
Well, yeah, this is only the first year that we're using that, because we did have the old name and color combinations last year with the 5 compounds, but we only have 3 compounds for these drivers here this year. Just the soft, medium, hard, yellow, red and white, or red, yellow and white, I should say, in the correct order. And that is what they have to use. Just 2 compounds they have to use during the event or during the race. And they can, as we said earlier, they can qualify on anything that they want, but it's just the top 10 that have to start on those tyres.
Gelchinski's actually catching up to some traffic there. I think if at any time he'd want to make that stop now, because he doesn't want to get held up by any traffic.
So just as a point of reference, Barbkov is now 28 seconds off the lead. So that is something that we will have to look out
Dajewski
for.
comes in.
Okay, so Barbkov, he's only coming down to the
Kane, I think.
Is it a Variante Outer? Is that one? Outer, I think it is. Hard to remember every single one. But yeah, Jasinski's already out because it is obviously a very short pit stop time. But then the actual pit lane itself is quite long here. So let's jump on board with Barbkov and see where he is. Obviously, there was a second or so between them before they pit anyway.
That's got to be close.
And Barbkov
And he's now
going to be
out.
at full speed. Barbkov is going to be at full speed, 200 miles an hour, almost coming down. But it looks like Jasinski's. And this is absolutely perfect, because not only does he have the lead, but he is on 5 lap fresher tyres. So this is really good news for Jasinski.
Really played out well for him. He did the overcut there to keep the lead. And didn't quite work out well for Barbukov, but at the same time, in the entire time where Barbukov went longer on the tires, he really didn't have to put too much stress on them, Of course he had to drive fast, but he didn't get it strained by dirty air or anything like that, because he had a nice, quiet, clean gap.
The one thing about Barbukov that is sometimes a worry is his tyre wear, though. So I do hope that he can get it to the end and give Jasinski a fight, but Jasinski's strategy has certainly put himself in a brilliant position to potentially take victory here in the San Marino Grand Prix. Although even having said that, Barbkov in second place would still be very good for him, and he would still be taking the championship lead with that.
And now we have Martin Antal in. He got tired of following the two Matthews around the track in his soft tires. He's changing to mediums as well. And meanwhile, in first place, Kalokshai, he still hasn't pitted. He's still on his soft tires. So he's almost going the entire distance, well, half of the distance now, on the soft tires. And
Yeah,
I don't know if he wants to minimize the distance there, or if it's, if his tires are really that good.
Yeah, it's because the soft tires are obviously quicker than the mediums. So if you've still got pace in them, then it probably is worth to stay out. But then sometimes when you make a pit stop, you just go a second a lap quicker because of the new tires as well. So that's what you have to get the balance between. Because even though his pace still might be good, if he pit, he would probably still go even quicker, despite pitting for a slower compound of tires, just because of the fresh tires and also lower fuel. And is he coming to
He's
pit? Yes,
coming
he
in.
is.
Yes. Right behind the back marker there.
And his teammate Matthew Clip coming around the final corner, still on those medium compounds with Matthew Tucson following him. So these guys, I would expect them to go for another 5 to 10 laps, something like that. And then they are going to be very, very quick at the end of this race.
That's Gilchinski and Barbukov already. That's Danny Robbins also going past. And a bit further back in the field, Kelvin Reinert and Linus Lundvall, they just did their pit stops last lap as well. So they changed to the medium tires as well. And Martin Anton is in the pits again.
Oh, did he speed or... Oh no, he's actually changing...
No, that is a stop and go penalty. That was speeding in pit lane.
That is a shame because a stop and go means you had to properly speed because you normally just get a drive-through penalty.
Yeah.
So he must have been at least like 5 or 10 Ks too quick, either on the entry or exit of the pit lane. So it's unfortunate for him. He's still in 14th, so that is 2 points, but he's now going to drop out of the points, and he's got a bit of work for him to do. And Calvin Reinhardt is actually in that final position at the moment.
And he's right behind Alicia Nunes. That is a fight for position. Both of them are on the medium tires, so I don't think we're going to be seeing any more tire stops for them. And Matthew Clip now goes in.
All right. So this, I would assume, is easily for a set of those soft compound tires. There he goes onto the red marked ones, and he is now going to be very quick. But is he too far behind to really make any sort of ground in the potential podium positions? We'll have to see. But he's certainly going to be quick now on those tires.
Now Max Huss is in the pits. Down in 11th now, and of course gonna drop down a little bit more. He's now on softs, but also I think, is that a bit of damage repair, or is that...
Potentially.
It may have been.
Potentially, because normally pit stop is 2.5 seconds, but I think that was 9 seconds I saw on the side of his car. So, yeah, not ideal. And obviously that's 7.
Here.
Oh, keep going.
Ryan, sorry, but yeah, Reinhardt coming out, and that's a very clean move there. Very nicely done from Kelvin Reinhardt, down up into 13th place.
I'm just going to check that these guys have actually made a pit stop, which they have. So yeah, this is points for Calvin and Eliza at the moment. And how far ahead have they got? Yeah, they got a 10-second gap now. 10-second gap now ahead of them. So a little bit of a way to make up some extra points, but it's certainly something that they can do over the next 16 laps.
And Gilchinski is now just over 1 second behind Tucson. Even with the pit stop, he's already right on Tucson's back, who still has yet to pit.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was saying earlier about, even though Tucson's lap times might be okay relative to what he was doing earlier on, Yeah, so his last lap was only 2/10 off his fastest lap. So he might be thinking, oh, yeah, cool, my tyres are still looking good, which they are. But Jasinski on those fresh tyres did a 16.0, while Tucson did a 17.0. So he's a whole second a lap quicker. So if Tucson pit now, he would be doing low 16s as well on those soft compound tyres. So that's why you've got to get that balance of when you make the pit stop. And he might be coming in this lap, but he's lost a lot of time. And he's going to be a pit stop behind the leaders, so it probably won't be a race victory here today. But
And he's coming in.
yes, this alternate strategy still might help him because, as we said, he started in about 15th, 16th place, something like that, quite far down.
But I think the happiest person about this stop is going to be Benjamin Gilchinski, because he was right behind that. And of course he has a bit of a comfy gap now to Stoyan Babakov, but still, if you can help it, you don't want laps of dirty air right behind another car, especially because these cars are so aero-dependent. And these tires really just rub down on you, and it's not really nice when you're really noticing the difference between clean air driving for 10 laps and driving in the dirty air of someone for 10 laps.
So Matthew Tucson has come out. He's only about 2 seconds behind Matthew Klipp, so that is almost perfect, I would say, because he is out ahead of Kato. So he's in a good position. Matthew Tucson, 7th place, fresh soft tyres to the end. So we do need to see how that goes. Adrian Harizoa ahead of him does still need to make a pit stop. So that's going to be 6th place for Matthew Tucson, which is still a brilliant result. He got 5th place last time out. So if he can manage to catch up to Klipp on these fresh tyres and make an overtake, that is going to be a very good afternoon for Tucson.
I just noticed something while going through the field. In 10th place we have Dmitry Zaharov. He actually went onto the hard tires. And that's, that's something we haven't seen at all yet, so... But his lap times are still looking quite good. He's doing the same lap times as Tucson was.
Sorry, someone has crashed. Who is... I think it was Dan McCauley had spun around. I saw yellow flags and a stationary Allied car, but yeah, I think it was Dan McCauley who was there. But yeah, just back on the hard tyres. Yeah, that is an interesting choice because, as we said, it's a fairly slam dunk, soft, medium strategy. But obviously, if you struggle with your tyre wear a little bit, then you are going to have to use those harder compound tyres. But I would not be surprised if some of the World Championship guys later on actually do 38 laps, so like the whole race here on those harder tyres. But that is for later on. And we got Herman Stocci here trying to go round the outside of Calvin Reinhardt, and he's actually managed to make that work up into 12th position for
right
the Italian driver.
Rusinak.
Yeah, he's now got Patrick just ahead of him. Now 11th place.
Oh, right, so close to the back of Stocci there.
Very close. And that Stocci's spun at that Tosa corner twice now as well. So I'm sure he was looking in his mirrors, getting a little bit scared there. But fortunately, nothing really happened on that occasion. And I'll just having a look now. Matthew Klipp, he's 13 seconds behind Kalaksai. So maybe that alternate strategy didn't actually work out in the end in terms of challenging those top few drivers. But 5th place would still be a good result. And for the Royal Blue Racing team, they had their debut last season. And they're also doing pretty well here, 4th and 5th place at the moment.
Yeah, quite indeed. And speaking of 5th place with Matthew Klipp, right behind him, once again, Matthew Tucson. And not too far behind that, actually, Jan Katau, who's also going to be looking on getting into that action.
And Stoichi, Stoichi managed to get past, who's that, Rusnik again. So 2 moves into turn 2, 2 laps in a row for Stoichi. So he's now up into the top 10.
And all that in round 2.
Yeah, so all the 2s for him. And he had 2 spins as well. So hopefully no more for him. He got a couple of points, I believe, in Malaysia. Although, as we said earlier, it was a fairly disappointing race for Go Speed, and the highest place here, P10 again. So not the best day for Go Speed again. But I do still have faith that they can turn that around. So,
Oh, and now 5th place, 6th place battle.
yeah, these fresh tires from Matt Tucson are doing wonders, aren't they? He's caught up that battle, though he does need to actually try and get past Clip because they have Kato behind that we've been talking about as well.
That's actually a lapped car ahead of Clip as well, so he's gonna be getting a little bit of dirty air.
Is
And
that
especially for
the
Sector 2, you don't want a car in front of you.
yeah? Is that Versbeke? Yes. So apparently, what happened was he and whoever else it was Macaulay, I think it was, who started from the pit lane. Apparently, they basically went when it was still a red light, so they got penalties from that. But it seems that they have had their like times and whatnot restored, which is how they're still going.
Hmm.
But just behind them, we need to see what Matthew Tucson can do, because as they get closer to Verbeke, they're going to give Clip DRS, which will make it even harder for Matthew Tucson to get past. But we've seen Tucson do a couple of moves into turn 2 already, so he's certainly got the top speed.
He was very close there as well on the exit, and he's really coming closer now. Clip didn't get DRS from Vicky right in front, and that was very close. Just barely fitting on the track there, and Tucson keeps it nicely on track.
It gets very tight there down that front part, or well, the first half of the track really. It's quite old school. The track is quite thin. It's a bit different from Malaysia, which is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is actually like the widest racetrack in the world. It's something crazy like 18 meters wide.
I think
Which
there's
is, yeah,
one track wider. That's like Slovakia Ring, where you can fit
potentially,
like 10 cars next to each other.
yeah. But that's a bit different from this old school track
Yeah,
here at Imola. And
yeah,
I
definitely.
had to say, when the calendar was released, some people were quite skeptical of Imola, but it's actually proving to be a pretty good racetrack, and these DRS zones are working pretty well. They're not so long that you just easily mince past someone, but they are still long enough that you can get those overtakes, especially down into turn 2.
Yeah, definitely. And now you should be close enough.
Although
That is
Clip's going to have
Clip
DRS,
for
so
DRS.
yeah, Clip's gonna have DRS, so yeah, Tucson isn't gonna be able to do anything for a couple laps until they get rid of the traffic, which Nico is getting out the way nicely there on the left-hand side.
And I just thought Tucson didn't actually use his DRS there. So I don't know what happened there with him. Because it doesn't seem like he's over a second out of Clip's window there. But there's more, more traffic here. That's Junior right ahead.
Yeah, so Junior also on the hard compound tyres as well. So interesting to see it's more than just one driver going for that option. But hopefully he gets out of the way here. Yeah, he's going off the track to let Clip pass. But I believe Clip, yeah, would have still got the DRS because the detection zone is in the middle of the chicane.
Yep.
So this next zone now, coming to turn 2, is going to be Matthew Tucson's best opportunity that he's had in a few laps. So we need to see what he can do here as they come down to turn number 2. Though he's quite far away actually on this occasion, but he's got the overspeed, but he's pulling out the slipstream a little bit because he doesn't want to get too close coming into these chicanes, because you can really lose a bit of your downforce in the dirty air.
I think he's also getting a bit skeptical there, a bit on edge from Katao right behind him. Because he's also inside striking range, and that pulling to the inside just before the turn-in point of turn 1 or turn 2, depending on if you count this kink. I think that was basically him already defending for that corner. So yeah,
Potentially, yeah, potentially. And one thing that you have to be careful at this track with the way, because as we said, it's turn 2, because turn 1 is like the kink after the grid box's end, and when you go through that kink, you can, if you're really close, you can often like cut someone up and potentially have a crash there. And I believe Junior has actually spun, uh, unfortunately. I saw on the mini map. But we'll need to see what Tusen can do on this occasion. It looks like he's a lot closer. And he's going to have to go round the outside for turn 2, but he has done this before. So can he get himself around the outside? Cliff is going to...
Oh, elbows out.
Yeah, he's going to give him a really hard defense. So this could give Kato an opportunity to get up to 6th
And he's
place as
already
well.
on the inside, yes.
Although this is not really a corner you want to go side by side, so well done for backing out. And Tusen is going to have to be a bit more creative because it obviously looks like Clip is going to give a hard defense here.
And we're now also in the last 10-ish laps, even less now. So he's also just running a little bit out of time.
Something I don't know if you missed this, but I completely missed. Danny Robbins is in 3rd position, having made his pit stop.
Pit stop windows, yeah.
I didn't realize how high he jumped up there, but 3rd position, he is doing really good there. We haven't mentioned him so much today, but he's having a good race, obviously.
Yeah, he went full stealth mode on us there. Now DRS open because he's close enough to Stoyan Babakov. Just 7/10 behind and, growing closer and closer. Both of them are on the medium tires. And Robin's just pulling so much momentum through Tamburello chicane. Really impressive.
Yeah, I do wonder if Babakov's tyres are starting to hurt a little bit. He did a few laps more than anyone else. He was the first one to pit.
Kelvin Reinert out.
Kelvin Reinert. Oh, let's grab a replay of what he's done here. So he's coming down to the 2nd chicane. Is he going to go wide on the exit, which is often done? Yes, he is. Going to hit the curb, loses multiple wheels and his rear wing, and that is Calvin out of the race.
And I said this before the race start, the curbs here, people always go with this, saying, respect the bumps at Sebring, you won't survive otherwise. Well, I say, respect the curbs at Imola.
Who's that? I think that's Verbiki, just went around on the exit of Tosa, maybe? Yeah, I think it was him. Span at Tosa, saw on the map. So yeah, it's been quite a few little spins and crashes today. Unfortunately, there's only 21 drivers left in the race. We got another person. Who is that? Martin Antol. He's DNF'd. He had an accident. Just saw as well.
Oh, engine. I think there was engine actually.
Ah, okay. Let's have a look. Coming down to the 2nd chicane, just like Calvin did.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Yeah, he killed his engine in the crash. Unfortunately for him.
When I read engine, I almost had a flashback to Tomas Garcia, who just blew his engine quite early in the race. And, that can always happen. If you think, of course, you're trying to go as low as possible with the engine cooling, so you have more straight line speed. But if you just go a bit too low, you're gonna pay the price rather quickly. Of course, the engine also gets a little bit more oomph when it's in high temperatures, but sadly a bit too much oomph, and that engine is gonna blow.
Yeah, so it seems like this has been a fairly tricky track for these academy drivers with 10 DNFs now. Obviously, quite a few of them, unfortunately, on that first lap when there was a few incidents and whatnot. But now we got Robbins coming behind Barbakov. Is he going to get his nose down the inside? No, he's going to have to go around the outside. Bit of contact there between these two. And there's going to be a spin there, definitely. Yeah, Barbakov has been spun around. He manages to get out of the way nicely there from Kalaxai. So Kalaxai is up into the podium. Stein is not going to be overly happy about that. But let's grab a replay as these two went side by side. So let's go on board with Barbakov. And we're going to have Danny Robbins come around our right-hand side here. Bit of contact is made, and Robbins just went completely for the apex. Wow, Barbakov actually had the mental ability while spun to actually reverse out of the way of Kalaxai there. That was some nice driving.
Quite impressive there.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Go out of the way of Kalaxai. So David will be very happy about that because that puts him on the podium, and he's a couple of seconds behind Danny. So maybe he could get 2nd place. But there's 5 laps to go in this race. Stein now down to 4th position. And yeah, it actually looked like Danny just went straight for that apex of turn 2. So from a quick glance, I would probably say that is Danny's fault, unfortunately, because Stein still had part of his car alongside, which means he's entitled to the space.
Yeah, very unfortunate. for Stoyan there. Luckily, he was able to get out of that with no damage. Right behind him, we had a few position changes as well. Jan Katau now leads the group of Matthew Klipp and Matthew Tucson. Tucson had a bit of an error, I think, because he's now 4 seconds behind the group.
Yeah, hasn't quite had the pace. I would have assumed he would have caught up Clip, but that hasn't quite happened yet.
No,
So,
like he
yeah.
was. The original order was Klipp, Tucson, and Katau. Katau just got passed as the Robbins and Babakov incident happened, but Tucson just had a spin or something on his own, I think. Just had a very bit of stroke of bad luck, and at the same time, though, he's catching up to the battle in front, I think.
Yeah,
So he's closing the gap again.
Yeah, the gaps are a little bit spread out in this top few. We got, we can run you through. Giozinski is now coming to start lap 35, but he has got a almost 7 second lead to Danny Robbins, and behind them is David Kalaksai in third position, only by about a second and a half. Then 9 seconds back, we got Stoyan Barbkov after that spin with Danny Robbins in turn number 2, and then we got Kato and Clip behind them. So it's spread out a little bit from the front, but there's still some positions to be sorted out in these final 4 laps of the race.
Yeah, we're getting quick catching up from our angels overseeing the racetrack here. Saying Tucson lost 5 seconds 2 laps ago, a half spin in turn 2, so especially when you're just in that rhythm through the chicane, when you hit the curbs a little bit too hard, and especially, these yellow little bumps there, they really upset the car if the car isn't 100% set up for that. And when you just try to get onto the throttle there while the tires are already hot, or, while you're a bit in dirty air, we saw it earlier already as well in a direct battle, but, that was actually, Jackson Wendt back then. You can just so quickly lose traction. You have so much power just being put straight to the rear wheels without any traction control, without anything. And, the guys are on edge. They want to get past each other, and sadly, it's not always going to work like that, evidently.
There's still a few battles going on the track. We've got Adrian Maharizoa behind Zaharov for P8. And Zaharov has sneaked up there into P8, just like he did in Malaysia. Had a pretty quiet race, but he's still managing to get some decent points here for 8th position. But he needs to defend from Adrian Maharizoa, who's on those soft compound tyres, when Zaharov is on the hard compound tyres, as we mentioned earlier. He went on to that slowest compound that we've got. But we now need to see what Thomas can do all the way down this front straight. 2-step softer tyres, so he's going to have plenty more grip. We'll have to see what he can do, although it seems as Zaharov has pretty decent top speed to defend from that for the moment, at least, anyway.
It's going to be quite interesting, because Zaharov did have some very good pace on those hards, I have to say. It was quite impressive seeing him, throw the car around the track with those tires on. But you can really see in the braking zone and in the middle of the corner here how much more grip the soft tires provide. Even though sometimes, on rare occasions, some drivers actually go faster with the harder compound because they just get along better with, the bit of less resistance, because some people actually prefer this driving style that you don't have that much grip.
And also, you can generally push like closer to the limit on the harder tires, because you generally know that they can take or you have a bit more tire wear available because they wear less. So sometimes that is an option, as we saw in the World Championship back in Malaysia 3 weeks ago. At the front, we saw Kweekel do soft, medium, medium, and then we saw Simoncic and Hoyer do soft, hard, hard. So they were basically on the same part of the track at the same moment, but Kweekel was having to save during his stint, whereas on the hard tyres, Simoncic and Hoyer could just push and push and push, which is why they chose that, and it worked out on that occasion as well. But yeah, I don't think Adrian Maharizoa is going to be able to get past. But Kalaksai now, as we come to start the final lap of the race, is right behind Danny Robbins, and this could be a second place, although he's made a mistake at the final corner, unfortunately. And this is the last long DRS zone, because there will be a bit of DRS to the start-finish line. but obviously not a full slipstream worth as we start this final lap of the race.
And Kaloxai, he has been doing some very good lap times in the last couple of laps. You know, he dropped back a tiny bit, but he had a bigger gap to the guys in front, to Babakov and Robbins, when they were still duking it out. Just a bit wide there. Got a bit too much onto the curb, takes a bit of the grass there, but gets a better line through the hairpin. And is now right on Robbins' back.
Yeah, you can see on his, especially on his front right tyre, when the sun goes onto it, you can see just how much wear he's starting to get on those tyres. Although Robbins has gone wide, Danny Robbins has gone wide. This is going to be a brilliant opportunity for Kalakside. What he needs to do here now is actually wait and get the DRS zone into the final corner. But we also need to see Jasinski is going to be coming around to win on his debut here in Formula Sim Racing in the Academy Championship. But let's see, can Kalaksai get past side by side into the final corner? Unfortunately, he is not going to be able to make that work. So Jasinski takes victory in Imola, but who is going to get second place? Kalaksai is going to get the slipstream to the line. He's going to have a bit of DRS. Can he get alongside? No, he can't. Danny Robbins, second place. Still a good job there from the two of those drivers. And then Babkov is going to finish in fourth position. Still a good result, but probably not the result he quite expected from the race.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be satisfied with that result, especially with that collision. Yeah, he puts it in the wall there.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be, not so pleasantly, in a mood with the collision with Robbins, which then led to his fourth place.
And then we had a good result from Kato in fifth, also on his debut. So Seawolf getting some nice points in the Constructors' Championship. Matthew Clip, good day out in sixth place. Had a bit of a quiet day, really, on that alternate strategy, but it got him sixth place, so he can't really complain with that. Matthew Tucson in seventh place, had that half spin, which meant he couldn't challenge Clip. Then Adrian Maharazoa in eighth. Max Huss, despite having a couple of issues, in ninth. Herman Stoicke in 10th. Lundvall, I should say, in 11th. Palisek in 12th. Zaharov in 13th. Zaharov must have crashed on that last lap
He
in
blew his
13th.
engine.
But he's still going to get those points for 13th, I believe. Rusnik in 14th, and Eliza Nunez picking up the final points here in Imola. But today was actually all about Jasinski. Perfect strategy. Managed to get the lead, and then, walks away with it.
Just a really well-played chess match for him here. Very good debut, and of course, a win on your debut is all that you want. And he had some very good pace. Not really any slip-ups whatsoever. At the very start, he was looking a little bit, nervous as he was following Babukov and Jackson around. But as the more the race went on, the more comfortable he got, and the more confident he got as well. You could really see it in the car. And what a race to watch.
Yeah, and that is not the only race you have to watch today. Coming up later, we have the World Championship at 1840 GMT. But in about 1 hour's time, we will have the Pro Championship at 1400 GMT. So make sure you tune in for that. And the next race for the Academy Championship, anyway, is the United States Grand Prix from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the 12th of April. But that is it from here in the Academy Championship, and we will see you in a moment for the Pro Championship and later on for the World Championship. So this has been the Academy series brought to you by SimLab and 3D Wrap. And until next time, we will see you soon.